manager. So that's one resource. The other resource is the very expensive plant and equipment, which are extremely expensive. So there's a lot of technology now on how to utilize expensive equipment in an optimal way, in a way that you get the work you want done and you then get rid of it quickly, rather than have very expensive plant just living idle. That's another resource. Finally, there's also stuff like the resources in a construction of a road or a bridge. It could be steel, it could be road metal, it could be cement, and using those sorts of earth, those sort of resources, water, using those effectively. And again, there's a lot of technology. So a good construction manager has to be good at planning, good at project management, good at leadership, and there's all these are parts of the learning of a construction manager.
And on the same note, we also referred to the foreign contractors before, and that unfair competition by foreign contractors is what you also said. But then we also understand that globalization is an inevitable process. But at the same time, if you look at the construction industry, because there are multi-stakeholders there, and when foreign companies come into the picture, each company has a different cultural framework. So there can be a clash of cultures at times. So looking at the Sri Lankan context, what is best for Sri Lanka also emerges from a Sri Lankan culture. So how important is understanding the culture as a construction manager and engineer, and is that embedded in the development of the curriculums?
That's a really good question. I think part of building teams at a construction site as a good manager, good leader, is to understand how to build teams that can accept the differences. There could be differences of gender, could be differences of religion, race, even within the Sri Lankan community, and developing teams and a good leader and understanding that when you build the bonds and friendships of a team, that it can work across all those sorts of barriers. And equally, you mentioned foreign versus local. Now, I was here doing another project on a World Bank funded IRQB kind of projects 8 years ago here. And at that time, the Baseline Road was being built. And I had an office along Baseline Road. And I was watching the construction teams building this amazing new road through Colombo. And my recollection is they were Korean or East Asian engineers and supervisors, but the construction gangs were mostly Sri Lankan workers. And it was wonderful to see the discipline and the teamwork that was going on between the local staff and the foreigners, and the quality of this amazing road that was being built 8 years ago. I hadn't seen that kind of discipline, that kind of logical, wonderful way in which work progressed through typical Colombo suburbs. So it can happen.
So I guess because globalization is an inevitable process, so even for technology transfer, I think those skills are also extremely important.
Correct.
And so all these things, as you said, are being addressed in these curriculums you're developing. So Satis, how can the students actually make use of it, and how can they increase their expertise? What are the institutions that are taking this forward?
Well, the one that is extraordinary in its potential to go forward is the Sri Lanka Institute of Advanced Technological Education, which is unique because it is 12 separate advanced technological institutes throughout Sri Lanka, and another 6 smaller institutes which are part of the same family but which are hosted within other institutions. So altogether 18 institutions within this network, and it's run as one institution. So it's a very powerful way to deliver courses to all these students who need it through one really high quality institution. And the institution is now poised for extraordinary takeoff because through a series of development assistance projects, SLATE has now received massive build-up both in hard infrastructure, which is buildings, and advanced machinery and equipment, into many or most of its ATIs. So the money has come from various World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and individual country projects, and fantastic facilities have been built and are still being built. And then also the soft infrastructure. that is teaching of training of teachers, and the provision of good management techniques, good business processes, good business practice, governance. All of this soft infrastructure has also been delivered and is being delivered. So SLATE is ready for a major takeoff. Currently it has about maybe 9,000 students, but it's got high hopes for doubling that in the next few years.
So I guess it is, I think, crucial at this point to remind our students out there, because Sri Lanka is going into a development phase where construction is crucial. So many development projects are taking place. Construction management in that light becomes extremely important, and the students who have diplomas in engineering from University of Muratua to other universities, open universities, they can also look at this advanced diploma in construction management, because that will also enable you to get the better skills to get absorbed in the industry.
Indeed.
And Satis, how can actually you can take this to many people as possible, because we know there's an unemployment problem and our intention has to be somehow increase the skills. Is there opportunities for distance education learning, maybe using computers, now that Sri Lanka is also going into an IT development phase?
Indeed, and that is a really good question. Thank you, Deepamala, because as I said, we have 18 institutes within this great institution, SLATE, but there is also a fantastic network of distance education provision that's already in place in Sri Lanka. It's called NODES.
What does it stand for?
Actually, NODES stands for National Online Distance Education Service, NODES, and it already has 21 centers throughout the country, which in many instances are in the same location as the SLATE ATIs. So there is a possibility of some of the courses that SLATE wants to now deliver to double its student enrollment over the next few years. What a great way to do it if they could utilize this fantastic distance education technology network that's already available, so that they don't have to recruit teachers for all 18 or even half of the 18 ATIs in order to teach a course throughout the country. For example, construction management, because construction is going to be very widespread in the country. With now that the period of civil war is over, we would expect strong growth happening in the east, in the north, and everywhere else in Sri Lanka.
Yes, on that note, can you continue on the potential of the construction industry in Sri Lanka?
Well, it's already, by my estimate, an industry of about 300 billion rupees with over 400,000 workers. And if Sri Lanka is to have post-conflict growth, given the rate of global growth, then we could expect a very healthy construction industry in which there is strong demand for its services. So it's probably currently growing at a workforce of about 12,000 per annum, but that could double soon. But for all that to happen, we need skills.
So diplomates with skills and graduates on the same lines will have good opportunities.
Absolutely, and we could use the distance education network, as I said, and that's one of the things that we are hoping to develop further as well.
So why did you say about the teachers that you don't need teachers in the case of the distance education learning?
You do need lots of teachers. Even with distance education mode, it doesn't mean you do not need teachers, but it means that you could have a top senior lecturer in a particular discipline with real knowledge in one center, and could be delivering this lecture, and it could be transmitted via a national network and be received in real time in many of the other centers on a TV screen. That's just one way. Another thing is all this courseware could be put on online, so that students could just go to a computer and look at the lectures, do their assignments, be guided. And every now and then they could have tutorials which are done via distance mode. So there's so many possibilities. And we could also have mixed mode, where sometimes the students get together with teachers, so you need some teachers everywhere, but not as many as having a complete duplication of teachers at every institute.
I guess that will